You have a deadline approaching. You've done the prep work, your schedule is clear, and success is entirely within your reach. Then you strike a match and burn it all down. You scroll for 5 hours. You pick a fight with a supportive partner. You actively destroy the very thing you spent months building. When the smoke clears, you're left staring at the wreckage, completely disoriented. It feels as though someone else was behind the wheel, a hostile secondary personality operating inside your own brain, deliberately hijacking your life while you watched helplessly from the passenger seat. If you ask a life coach or scroll through productivity forums, they point to a mechanical failure. They claim you lack discipline, your morning routine is flawed, or you have a software bug in your logic that needs to be patched with another time management framework. Diagnosing self-sabotage as a time management issue misses the reality of human nature. Treating a profound psychological rebellion as a simple lack of willpower guarantees the cycle will happen again. Modern society is built on a specific assumption. We believe humans are rational actors. The theory goes that if you give a person the right data, they will calculate their best interests and logically pursue wealth, health, and peace. The 19th century Russian novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky recognized the flaw in this logic over a century ago. He argued that humanity actively and deliberately rejects perfect logic. Dostoevsky observed that a person can fully understand their real, normal interests and yet consciously leave them in the background. Instead, they will rush headlong down an absurd, difficult, and dangerous path. Acting purely on rational advantage reduces a human to a predictable formula. We choose suffering and chaos to prove we are independent individuals with free choice, escaping the predetermined fate of a key on a piano. Self-sabotage acts as a demonstration of agency. You choose the irrational path because it belongs to you alone, asserting your existence over the predictable logic of a spreadsheet. To understand how this internal rebellion is organized, we look to the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who laid out a radical critique of human consciousness. We assume that the conscious I is the absolute author of our actions. Nietzsche argued that the sentence, "I think," is actually a profound illusion. The concept of an ego in total command is a convenient grammatical fiction, obscuring the true drivers of our behavior. This cross-section model shows how Nietzsche viewed the mind. A thin, orderly surface layer, the conscious mind, sits atop a chaotic churn of primal instincts. These dark shapes forcefully warp the surface level, driving your actions without your conscious awareness. The conscious mind acts as an anxious passenger, frantically inventing logical excuses to explain the destinations already chosen by the instincts churning below. The novelist Dostoevsky imagined a utopian future for humanity that he called the Crystal Palace, a risk-free society where every human need is calculated, tabulated, and perfectly provided for. Modern life often demands we live exactly like this, optimized, scheduled, and always rational. This sterile perfection creates a profound psychological suffocation. When you demand perfect adherence to an optimized routine, you strip yourself of your free will, reducing yourself to the status of a mechanical organ stop. Humans absolutely despise being reduced to mere machinery. To prove independent choice still exists, we violently introduce chaos, shattering the routine just to feel the autonomy of making a wild, unfettered choice. Society, and our own polite, conscious minds, deem the natural human drives for power, danger, and unpredictability as unacceptable. Consequently, we repress them, locking them away in the dark, underground basement of the psyche. Burying these primal drives allows them to persist and mutate, creating a shadow. In the dark, this hidden force grows, eventually seizing control to assert its independence through sudden, destructive acts. Analyzing your behavior through a rigid moral lens is a mistake. We typically label our disciplined actions as good and our chaotic urges as evil. Nietzsche argued that psychology runs aground on these moral prejudices. Instead, we must translate human behavior back into its raw, natural state, devoid of the flattering, visionary interpretations that society paints over it. This node-based network illustrates a harsh reality of human psychology. The traits culturally labeled as toxic, like this dark node representing aggression or selfishness, serve as the engines powering ambition, protection, and drive. Attempting to surgically remove or suppress those dark traits to become a perfectly harmless person severs that connection. The glowing positive nodes instantly collapse, leaving you completely devoid of energy and willpower. Fighting a war against your own nature guarantees endless psychological sickness. The suppressed shadow will simply reorganize and continue to operate as a hostile insurgency against your conscious goals. The path to mental clarity requires a complete reversal of strategy. You achieve stability through the active integration of the unconscious. You must stop trying to behave as a harmless, perfectly rational entity. Instead, you have to actively acknowledge those raw, dark drives. Give the desire for power and caprice a productive, demanding target to attack. Put the monster to work. When your conscious, rational goals finally align with your unconscious will to power, you experience a visceral shift in capability. The internal friction disappears, replaced by an immense, unified surge of psychological momentum. Ending the internal war allows you to direct the shadow's energy toward your ambitions. The urge to self-sabotage vanishes as you achieve true, unified command over your life.